honestly, all the Anthropic Claude interfaces look the same. It's a box within a box within a box, and you're
The-
just like, this sucks. Like the user experience absolutely is horrendous, and people are just like, oh, look at this because like it has some color to it or something.
It has
And it's like it
emojis.
looks,
It has
yeah,
emojis and purple gradients, Eve.
yeah.
And they've added
It's so
sparkles
it's
to
so
everything.
great.
Oh
It's
my
so
God.
great. But when you come to the interface, you're like, what do I do first? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, this is Eve Eden.
And I'm Brian Crowley. Welcome to UX Murder Mystery. So Eve, today we're going to do a little Q&A. We're going to be looking at our UX design and our user experience from Reddit, the Reddit communities. I'm going to be reading off a little bit of some of the common questions, kind of getting your reaction to it, and we'll kind of talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to read a couple of things I'm noticing, a couple of questions I'm noticing. They're the top questions in our UX design. I'm going to read you a couple of the questions back to back and just get your reaction to this, your
Okay.
fresh reaction to it. Okay. First question is anyone else drowning? Another question. My UX job is moving me to another department because of AI. Third question. No need for UX? Question mark. Fourth question. What the tough job market does to you? And then there's another question here that I wanted to read, which was, I'm gonna be fired on Friday. So I would love to get, and there are many other, a lot of topics about layoffs and getting fired. So I
Okay.
just wanted to get your reaction to hearing that.
Um, okay, so my reaction is so I'm actually pretty involved in the UX community. Brian, you know,
Yep.
I help organize with a team the UX meetup group here in Nashville. Um, also, have been on, actually just was on a panel yesterday at Middle Tennessee State University for interaction design students capstone projects. So that was cool, right? And got to talk to them, right? Like newly graduating students this summer, this spring,
Yeah.
and um, and then just mentoring. So I do mentor. I have like some places where you can get hours with me, I guess, and we can talk about things. So from that perspective of the audience, I guess, of people, they're like new graduates, people that could be working in the job market for a while, and then even people overseas. So I've talked to people even like um, in India, Bangalore, in the Middle East and Egypt. And it's it seems like this is not just an United States thing. Um, this is all over. Hey, I'm having a hard time finding work or even getting anyone to reply to my emails or job filling out job applications. So I guess the questions that you like, some of the questions aren't surprising. There's also fellow peers and colleagues that have also said, I'm looking for work or I've just been laid off of work. One colleague of mine just got a job after months of looking, and he's thrilled. But at the same time, it's not ideal for him. He has contract work. It's not full time. But actually, I don't know if it's full time or not. But it is contract for, believe it's a year contract, which is, good for him. But it feels like what you're telling me, like these questions that are being posed on Reddit currently, and what I'm hearing naturally in conversations and where I'm going, has like a unification, right? Like this is kind of all over the place.
We're obviously not unique in this situation. Um, there's obviously like the market is just rough. The market is rough if you're a developer, the market is rough if you're a government employee, the market is rough for a whole host of reasons, right? Um, so I'm curious to know, but if we're zooming in and more specific to UX, what do we think is making, or what do we think is making it worse for our folks?
I think what's happening is there is a leap, right? So we have I hate the I have to figure out like another code word for AI. We'll figure it out. But AI, current state, how we interact with it, and then super intelligence, right? I feel like when people are talking about those two things, they put them together like
Sure.
they're the same,
Right.
and they are absolutely not the same thing.
Right.
And so let's just define them. I think when we talk about super intelligence, we're talking about almost human like behavior where it's reasoning and, kind of systematic thinking, and like just understanding from like all sorts of places. But when we talk about AI and you ask AI, here's an example. I want you to learn chess, right? And so it learns chess and it can beat the best chess master, right? We've seen it. It's
Mhm.
happened, but it has no idea how to play checkers.
Yeah.
Why? Because it hasn't been programmed to. So that's what AI to me is it can get really good at one thing, but it can't kind of reason and think in a almost like conducive way, like a human being or quote unquote super intelligence, which I don't even know who has access to that exactly, or how that works in the real world currently. And so, okay, long-winded way of answering your question. Now, getting back to why we're not being hired for jobs. What I believe is happening is this narrow-minded thinking that super intelligence is going to take our jobs away. However, we don't have super intelligence. We just have something that can play chess really well, but it has no idea how to play checkers.
Yeah.
And so there is a bubble, and that bubble is, hey, we can't actually program this thing to do what we think it could have done. And so there's a bust that is happening. And what you're going to see, and actually what I am seeing, is more contract work and fractional work that is coming into our field. And I believe what is happening is we are the example people of technologists, I guess,
Yeah.
um, for the future of work. Meaning it is impacting. So think about this. Oracle just laid off 30, I think it's 30,000. Don't quote me on
Yeah.
that.
No, no, no. It was
30,
30,000.
yes. April 1st. Today is May 1st,
Yeah.
2026. Amazon, January 2026, 15,000 or
Yeah.
16,000. October 2025, 15,000 from Amazon. What we're seeing, and this is hitting corporate Americans, right? And so what we're seeing is the average American who is being impacted. This is a different scenario. This isn't just like 2008 or 2001. I was just speaking to one
Mhm.
of a peer of mine, and I said, "How is this? Is this different than '08 and '01?" She said, "Yes, it is." And how is it that different? Because it's impacting the not just a specific sort of industry. It's impacting all people, all jobs. And so anyway, that's kind of like where I think what is happening here, to answer your question directly.
You know, one of the things that I've felt, and one of the things that I've noticed too, and um, and I complained about this a while, was that I feel like our UX folks, we often are the people that are when we're in the rooms, we're supposed to be a little bit difficult. And I feel as though a couple of years ago, do you remember a couple of years ago before the great LLM thing happened, how everybody suddenly wanted to jam chatbots into everything, and you had to talk down a whole bunch of people into like not cramming chatbots onto everything, or you had to like try to say, or you had to like push back against UX myths like the 3 clicks thing and this, that, and the other, right? And I feel as though what we used to be really good at as UX folks was we used to be really good at being skeptical about emerging technology and not just, and like learning about it, but not just like saying, let's plug it in just for the sake of plugging it in.
Right.
And man, I feel like we've just got like, I don't know what happened, but I feel like coinciding with like overall loss of power, it has just become too many UX folks have just become yes men and yes women and yes whatever to all the demands for AI, and I feel like it's starting to blow up in people's faces.
Yeah, so and where are you, do you have, like, a specific example, like a real life scenario that you're kind of deriving that from?
A real life scenario of which thing of it blowing up in people's faces.
Yeah, kind of like, maybe the heart of what talking to. Are you seeing this, like, kind of firsthand, like, like, in your current work or, what you've previously seen?
Well, what I've previously seen, what I've previously experienced was getting into the room and being able to say no and say and be able to shut down and say no, 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 we're not going to pursue XYZ because it is not solving a problem for our users. We're not, I'll give you an example from many, many years ago.
Yeah.
I worked at a company where a very smart person who worked with us said said, you know what? In order to come to the website and buy anything, we should force people to log in to the website. This was not a dumb person, but this was like a thought that they had, and we had to just kind of push back on that and be like, hey, you know what? We shouldn't do that because I didn't explain the reasons why, right? And I feel like that has started to go away, where people are now like, if there's a request, we're now just like, yep, doing the request. Um, I remember years ago, everybody wanting to jam chatbots onto every single thing, and we were like, no, we really kind of, and we were also like in the room pushing back against that. And now, I mean, we're seeing it with ChatGPT, and with all the adoptions of ChatGPT being the primary one, where all these companies are like grabbing up and going and implementing ChatGPT, and they've had this mass valuation of ChatGPT, and yet at the same time they're finding out that ChatGPT isn't able to do things like some very, very simple things like do timers, or there's this video of this guy who's like who's saying like, hey, I'm gonna go for a run, I'm back from the run, and it's telling him that he completed his run in 7 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah,
it does if I talk to it, it has no idea how much time has passed. So if it's
yeah,
been a couple days, it thinks it's picking up from that day. Um, and then I noticed that there were other examples where it's like, kind of simple things like, "Hey, I wanna go," like, maybe it's the same guy. "I'm gonna go and get a car wash.
yeah,
I'm going to walk to the car wash." And it was just, it was like, "Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. It's nearby. You can walk to it." It's like not reasoning, pretty about, well, we need the physical car to get there.
I want to read if we're going back into I want to hop back into Reddit real quick, and I want to maybe get another couple of questions that are there that I'd love to like ask you and see what you think about this.
Well, you know what? As you're doing that, one
Yeah.
thing I'll mention too is what you're talking about too is how UX designers, product designers, I've been seeing even a shift and where people are being called UX engineers. I don't know if you've seen that around. And where I think we can bring the most value and you've talked about this with the illustrations you've currently had on LinkedIn, and I think you put that on Reddit too,
Oh yeah.
is is this, like, critical thinking aspect of our job.
Yeah.
I see it all the time, Brian, where, we're critically thinking of the end user. However, it's like the game of chess. It's like we're doing something really, really well, but we're forgetting, hey, there's like other things we need to like balance out, which is this company making money? How is this going against my product manager? Do they feel supported by me? Right? Does
Mhm.
the business feel like I care about what they care about? And at the same time bringing logic there where yes, we can care about these dollars and this is how it can be made, and here's why the design decisions I've done support these objectives, right? This is kind of like one these are the ways that we should be strategic, um, and at the same time evaluating the end user. What I see currently, and this is just me reviewing portfolios, reading resumes, just mentoring, people, is who's your audience, right? We're talking in this like very cryptic speak,
Yeah.
but the hiring person does not even know anything. Like, it's like a word salad on your resume or on your portfolio. It's like simplify this. Like, go back. Like, what is this? What did you do at this job? And it
Uh,
was like 7 words, something about doing this and doing that, like this, very long way of saying it. And he's like, "Oh, it was a redesign." I'm like, "Okay, just say redesign on your portfolio." I have no idea. Like the hiring manager would have no idea what you just said here. And they're not a UX person. So you have to think in those layman ways, layman terms, not putting them down. It's just what we talk about is not for them. It's like exclusive to us. And you have to make that critical thinking leap back to people that don't know what you're talking about and people that are kind of inside your field and how to speak to them. That we should know how to do that well.
yeah. I mean, it's so funny. I agree. I feel as though one of the big faults or one of the big things that fails in a lot of portfolios is there is so much time spent on the aesthetics of it and not enough time spent on the thought around how how much is a hiring manager going to read those gigantic case studies that you've put on every page? Nope, probably not. You know, like so how do you tailor the experience of what you're making for your hiring manager to be able to consume? You know, like thinking around that, like they are the user in this case, and it's so funny how many people are just very very poor at that.
It's
um
just a churn and burn. It's almost like the boot camps churned out all these people
yeah,
and said, "Here's a way copy and paste how to build a portfolio."
100%.
And every portfolio looks like that, talks like that,
Yep.
and then everyone that you talk to is speaking like that. But when I ask a direct question, like, what are you trying to say here?" And they're like, "Oh, we just redesigned this, like, application because it was, like, 8 years old." Okay, say that. Like, that's what I want you to say. That's, like, what's gonna be understood when someone's reading, like, what you've done.
But even deeper than that, it's like, and why did you redesign it? Like, what was the problem you were trying to solve? Like did you do it just to do it, or was there like when people ask for a redesign, it's like, well, that's going to be like time and work, and like, was there previous research into why everything was structured the way it was structured and why it was built the way it was built, or did a brand change? Did somebody buy, like, what's the story behind that, like having a
Right.
solid story?
Yeah, exactly, and so this is our the heart of what we do, and how do we suck so bad at communicating that? I've had managers that have said, like, "Why are UX people really bad at presenting and talking about, like, what they work on? You would think you guys would be the best." And, he was right in a way, even though I disagreed with him on a lot of things. But it's true. It's like, why are we it's like, there's, like, a disconnect in how we think and then what we do when we are presenting ourselves.
I have a controversial take on that
Yeah.
too. My controversial take is not everyone who is in the field of UX is supposed to be a presenter or should be a presenter, and that's okay. And if we're actually going to be a really truly human centered field, there need to be some people that are going to be the presenters that go out and present with confidence and do that thing. And there are some people who, if they're not comfortable with presenting or not wanting to present, we need to support them too and let them either be the people that like help out and like create the decks, or supply the research or do whatever other kinds of, but like not everybody. I think it is sucks that in our field that there was for a long time a real push towards like only extroverts being able to shine, and we did not kind of like nurture introverts and nurture you know people that are neurodivergent or people that are not going to want to necessarily. I don't love presenting. I present on occasion, but it's not always my favorite thing to do.
Oh, that's a good point.
So, this is an interesting topic that I've seen a lot of designers talk about, which is this question: how do you transition from not using AI in your designs to being forced to use AI for the sake of it? And I am seeing a lot of that starting to happen where people are like really pushing designers to start using AI.
Well, okay. I wanna be, like, diplomatic, but I also want to be realistic. Um, we have a tool stack, right? Um, our tool stack is, X, Y, and Z. We're adding, let's say, AI to X, Y, and Z. So each one of those has AI built in.
Mhm.
Why would we resist not using it if we can learn from it and it can do things for us? I think we should. That is just because that's our tool stack. It's advancing, and we should use it to our advantage. Um, I've asked some leaders, UX leaders, how they're using how the leaders are using AI. And one person who is a director and is managing a team, I believe she's in insurance. And what she's doing is she explained to me that she's using AI as almost like a team member. So it's like another designer, a junior designer. And so when we are in collaboration, we ask that what their their opinion is, and then but it's again it's in collaboration, so it's really not higher or lower, it's just another point of view, right? And so then we just get a broader perspective based on the circle that they're in. And I thought that was like a good take on it. What are you thinking?
I have mixed feelings on it. I part of me feels, I mean, we've used, to be transparent, we've used AI for the show. We've used AI between, like, to clip the show. We've used AI for descriptions, for sometimes creating, like, some of our getting some of our guides together. So, like, we've used AI. Um, we try not to lean too heavily on it, but we try to use it because we're a two-person crew for the most part, right?
Right.
Um, so so that's one thing. I don't really use it. I have not used it much in my design work. Um, I have um, I feel like, as I've tried, I did experiment with it a little bit, and I felt like prompting to get a design was taking more time than me just physically doing it. Um, I even experimented with Figma Make, and
Yeah.
Figma Make, would hope, would be able to complete some of the most grueling, annoying things, like just make me a component, right? I just make me a component. Figma Make does not do that, which is really fucking annoying. Like, Figma Make, I can't just say, make me a component of this card, and make 5 different variants of this card, and it'll show me it, but then it can't turn it into a component. Then I have to,
Mhm.
like, bring it over to become a component and then manually do everything. I didn't gain anything from that. And I feel the
Yeah,
same.
there was an current article, I don't know if you've seen, where I believe it was Anthropic's, wait, yeah, it must have been the CEO, was stating
Dario,
that what's that?
Dario is his name. Yeah.
So it was stating that it was taking, 30% longer, for people to like, it was surpassing human wages, like, pay, to use AI. So AI is actually you have to pay AI 30% more than
Right.
a human salary. I was that that was ridiculous when I saw it. It
It's
really made me laugh.
it makes no sense. And and I know that there are a lot of designers that are just like, no, are like refusing, or like, we don't want to use AI, we refuse to. And I think that's great. I think that if there are people that are like, I don't want to use the LLMs, I don't want to use it. For our show, we try to minimize our use, except for, like, the most essential things. And just, again, like I said, we're a two-man crew, two-person crew. But um, yeah. Um, Speaking of AI, there's another comment on Reddit. Client just replaced me with Claude Design. Uh, this person says that
Good
they had
luck with that.
worked with a client for 4 years, built the entire product end to end, and then they just replaced this person with Claude,
Yep, well, you're gonna pay Claude 30% more
right?
than the person you replaced, absolutely.
And then, like, what's going to happen when, like, that person who's been there for 4 years and their clients replace them? They have all this domain knowledge. They have all this research that they've done. They've done all this work. Like, how's the client gonna recoup all of that?
Yeah, because yeah, like, people would say, they know where the bodies are buried, right? Like, there's a historical aspect to, the people that worked for your company, and you're kind of flushing that down the drain. It's similar to code being built. where, sure, you can build this highly generic interface. Honestly, all the Anthropic Claude interfaces look the same. It's a box within a box within a box. And you're
The-
just like, this sucks. Like the user experience absolutely is horrendous. And people are just like, oh, look at this because like it has some color to it or something.
It has
And it's like,
emoji.
it looks,
It has
yeah.
emojis and purple gradients, Eve,
Yeah.
and they've added
It's so,
sparkles
it's
to
so
everything.
great.
Oh
It's
my
so
god!
great. But when you come to the interface, you're like, what do I do first? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what to do.
yeah.
Right. And so I'm taking this example because of a current person, again, naming no names, a current person that was like thinking of, bringing UX onto their staff. And it's like, look what we built in Claude. And I looked at it and I was like, what is this? Like, what does this do? What's this interface? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It has bold text and, check marks. But you have absolutely no idea what to do if you're just like first time user, right? But they don't see it like that. This is like someone that's completely encompassed within the field. And again, that's your problem. And so my real point is, sure, build in Claude. You'll get, like people said, 90 or 80, 90% there. But the last 20% or last 10% is going to take you triple the amount of time that it did in your previous versions because you don't know how you got there, right? And
And
so that's supporting this historical knowledge, expertise type people.
and it's kind of the thing of like, you can build. It's you can build the thing, but that doesn't mean it works. You can build a whole lot of things, but they working and functioning are two different things, right? Like it actually being able to like solve people's problems and do something for your customers or do something for your users, like that's what's crucial. And like Claude will never tell you that answer. Claude is never going to be able to go sit at Starbucks and run usability tests. Sorry, it just is not gonna happen. um uh I have another question I want to ask you from Reddit that I think is really
And I
funny.
want to quote this just
Okay.
because I know just to make sure. So, and this is just again me using at this point Google Gemini because I wanted to make sure. So, in recent data indicates that while using AI tools like Claude increases productivity, it can significantly raise cost for employers, in some cases making AI-enabled workflows more expensive than human labor alone. That's coming from a direct quote from Axios.
Yes,
And
yeah.
yes, and so that's from April 26, 2026, article called AI Can Cost More Than Human Workers Now.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean that's undoubtedly true, and plus all the data centers that they're trying to build as well, right? Um, I so shifting gears a little bit, this question from Reddit, I would love to hear your take on this. Do you guys feel like developers and designers are taking this harder than other professions because we had it too good lately?
Oh, what kind of question is that? Oh my gosh. I'm trying to like think about why that question's being posed that way.
Do you want me to read the context?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so just right before the AI boom, most discussions in these circles were about what courses or boot camps to do in order to have a sip of the golden cup of the UX market, which seemed to be overflowing. Devs had a similar boom, everyone rushing to learn code, and employers were bending over backwards to make sure their good devs were happy before someone else poached them. AI came before the market could adjust itself due to supply and demand, In fact, it arrived at the peak of hype when many had already felt it had left behind for the IT gold rush, and it was too late to change course because, unlike traditional top paid professionals, you didn't need to come from a prestigious college, have postgraduate diplomas or fancy connections. You just needed to do the bare minimum to keep an updated LinkedIn profile, and clients would jump over every corner, blah, blah, blah. Nerds were finally cool is a thing that they put in quotes. Anyhow, that's kind of what they were. That's the
What's the
gist.
question? If you can say it, read the
Gist
question again.
is, do you feel like developers and designers are taking this harder than other professions because we had it too good lately?
Oh my gosh, you guys. So I'm just gonna tap into my Never Search Alone experience, and I know Brian, you've also experienced that group, which I highly recommend if you've recently got laid off. It depends on the group. Some groups are really negative, they just are more pessimistic. So you have to kind of be careful because that can get you down too. Just my personal experience. Um, so I think that was my first experience understanding other industries what's happening. What I did notice is most of the industries were overlapping, which was product management, design, and software dev, kind of. I didn't see them as much. I don't know why I feel like there was a bounce back with them. Maybe it was different, or I didn't overlap. And middle management, huge. Middle management across the board. It's just like, just cutting the fat there. And I feel like it was this was 2023, beginning of 2024, where I'm like kind of deriving like my personal experience. And what I noticed is um, people just thought it was going to be a bounce back. But as they were applying for jobs and not receiving feedback, or like a real human on the other end, that's what we were talking about mostly. Is like,
Yeah.
"Hey, have you noticed this? Are you going through AI interviews?" And so people who are not in tech, like us, and were in kinda admin roles, were getting the AI interviews. I noticed them getting the AI interviews. I've not gone through an AI interview yet. And so that was new, as we were talking about that. Would I say, one industry is complaining more than others, or because we have like this kind of golden era? I know people keep saying that. Um, Hindsight's 2020. I don't know when hindsight begins. I actually direct quote said that yesterday to a friend. I was like, when does the hindsight begin? Like, are we getting to hindsight where we look back and we're like, oh, this is why it was happening? I feel like we're still like in it. Like I can't see behind and say, oh, this is what happened in 2023 or 2024. But what is your take, Brian?
I mean, my take is that the person is not wrong insofar as that from an outside point of view, from being outside of tech and looking in, um, was there a uh, was there a treatment of the office workers that were in tech? Like, you would go in, you and I both know, you would have a fully stocked snacks, and some places you'd have beer on tap or coffee or whatever, and they'd have breakfast sometimes ready for people. Like, when I was working at, there was a company I was working at where we had like a video game room, we had ping pong and yada
Yeah.
yada. And I know that,
Honestly, nobody even played. We were all at work all day long. We
well,
never even had like, it was hard
and
at least I noticed we hardly used our equipment.
I know, like, at Facebook is infamous for having like an ice cream bar where people could 24/7 get ice cream, and they had a Apple. Do you know about the Apple vending machine? They had an Apple vending machine where you could hit the Apple products and would just drop it into the vending machine and people would just grab whatever. And they were just trusting employees to like be able to grab whatever out. Now, on the surface, when you hear those things, you go, oh, what a bunch of spoiled, rotten children, right? Like, what a bunch of these adults being treated to these type of things, right? You just like that's outside of that, you go, oh, that's, but in fact, the reason that they were doing all of this and the reason they would cater lunch in and the reason they would have breakfast in is because they were keeping their employees at work. And they were trying to get people to like work longer hours and be there and be tied to the desk. And and it was when we were all in office, and they were also making it so that uh in some cases they could then be like, okay, well, you can go work at X, Y, or Z, but you're not going to have these benefits, and that was part of like what they were trying to like tie in as benefits. So I think both things are true. I think that we did have it good, and there were a bunch of good benefits, but it was also these companies were kind of taking advantage of people. And look what happened after COVID. Or once COVID hit, they expected everybody to flip on a dime and start working remote. And then they're trying to they were for a while. There was the big push for RTO to try to get everybody to return to office, to make up for their real estate deals that they had done to make sure that the Panera Bread next door stays open or whatever, you know. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't think that I actually don't think that we are taking it harder than other professions, though. I think that there are, I think that within our own bubble, it's pretty bad. But there are a lot of other professions where it's way fucking worse right now. That's my feeling about it. Here's Eve. I want to shift gears and ask you this question. Um, this is another Reddit question. Is UX design just psychological manipulation with a nicer name? I'm seriously thinking about quitting UX.
So I think with UX, yes, there is bad, like, or more so dark UX patterns that we should be aware of. Um, and so depending on the business, we talked about this several times with UX research being undermined or, just ignored completely. Um,
Totally.
right? I think that's like maybe where some of the question maybe deriving from. It could also be, how we manipulate other people with dark UX patterns. So I think in general, and this goes back to what you were saying about good leadership, having strong presence, um, being able to be brave and have courage to speak up for pretty much like what is right. Yeah, from like an ethical standpoint, from a end user standpoint. But then we always kind of butt heads with business as well, right? Where we want business to be our partner and we want to help them reach their objectives. But at the same time, I think we can also say we want to vouch, obviously, for the end user and do what's best for, people. Now, that's where things get hairy, depending on maybe the company itself. They might not have those same concerns. And so, really, maybe the question should be, is it the right company and not necessarily the field? But what's your take on that?
I don't feel. I mean, I agree with you that there are dark patterns, and there are people there are practitioners that that definitely lean into like don't seem to care about the fact like, yeah, you can get there can be like psychological manipulation to it. Um, I mean, I would say that a big thing that you and I have talked about on this show has been the whole fact that we think that there needs to be licensing. Because I don't know about you, I don't have a psychology degree. I don't, I know nominally about psychology. Um, uh, and I wonder if is that part of a curriculum that I missed that we should have known more about? That's a gap in like what we do. Um, Certainly, I think that if we um, we're getting into people's brains when we design stuff for folks, right? Or when we create things that have senses of urgency um, to them. So, like, I think that there can be slight psychological manipulation. I don't think that that's inherent to it, but I think that they're flagging a real danger that we do need to address through licensing or something or another.
Yeah, I think you're right. There may be like more to and I don't even know what the future of academia is. Let's say it's yeah, I was really in this conversation because I was talking to professors. Um, could we change curriculum within the semester or within the next semester or the following semester? And usually this, you know, updating curriculum took a lot more time.
Yeah,
Well, with technology, how are we going to, keep up so that, our the places of learning are going with the trend? That to me is huge. It's like, what's happening to it? Is this do we still have like a foundation of like places to learn,
yeah,
like high school and colleges? Instead, what I see are influencers, ripping off of people like you and I, um, and just really gleaning off of our knowledge and just making up curriculum and selling it for $499 8 weeks or something like that.
yeah. I agree, and we don't know what the future of that is. That is a. I would love. We need to have a conversation with a couple of UX folks about what we think a license would look like and what we think the curriculum should be and how this could shake out. We need to like figure that out, and that needs to become like a real conversation within the community.
Yeah, because it's kind of like government. It's slow. Academia is some government, slow moving, lots of layers, process. And so you're kind of moving too slow for the current era. Our era is like moving very quickly. Everyone's kind of getting whiplash at the same time. I mean, wasn't it just today or that a year from now, maybe it's Elon Musk, your favorite person, is saying that AI is going to kind of surpass human intelligence within the following year. I don't know what that means, but it's like we're just this kind of whiplash effect is happening all over the place. It's not just, but we always knew government was slow and academia. It's just like so slow moving. So why are we investing in like this kind of old school way of operations? Like, why hasn't that caught up yet? Or is it, being improved on a daily basis?
Yeah, I, that's a question I do not know. I think that that is a lot more digging into. I do think that I will say for myself, if we were to implement like a design licensing type thing, I mean the general we, I mean the UX community, right? The universal we. I don't know that I would uh have a license still. and I don't mean that as a bad thing. I just mean that like that's they should the rigor of it should be such that it would be really, it would be very, very strict, and that we would have to like there might be a lot more to it than we currently know. There might be a lot of unknown unknowns, and there might be all kinds of stuff that we need to shake out. So
No, you're right, because what you're seeing is like in the legal system and maybe in medicine, I'm not sure, but I think I've seen it in the legal industry. They're having really big issues with people not critically thinking and I don't know, cheating or whatever is happening. So that rigor that you were talking about is like, how do you keep that and then still have this type of technology where it's so easy to kind of figure something out and maybe answer something like an interview call that is necessarily something based on your experience. You're
yeah,
just ripping off of the internet. That's a huge problem.
it's a huge. I mean, this is part of the whole thing we've talked about before, where feel as though the future of UX may be that we're going to be like data scrubbers. We're going to have to start figuring out how to clean up our information systems, because look at what's happening right now. Like with if you or I try to Google stuff or try to find out
Yeah.
basic answers now, we're getting AI summaries, we're getting information spat at us all the time, where I now have to like look up, like double check and look and make sure that is this true, and like not assume, use critical thinking and not assume that everything that we're told or everything we consume or everything that we spit at us is immediately true, just because it's we can't trust our eyes even, right? Because the bunnies jumping on the trampoline are not true, right?
Remember, there was a time where it's like, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Yeah, right.
So true
Or it
today.
was, or it must be true because we it was on the internet, right? It used to be a thing, like as a joke. Um, so one last question from Reddit that
Okay.
relates to a previous topic that we've had that I want to read to you. Um, this person said they spent 5 hours on a design assignment only to get a generic rejection. They said, "Is this normal now?" Um, and just as an FYI, I did respond to this with a link to our video with where we talked with Christina Hamlin about this very topic.
That is so disappointing. And so the generic response was just a rejection, like we found somebody else.
They basically said, "Dear blank, thank you for your interest." And by the way, just as a fun note, they decided to use UI/UX, which is always, to me, is always a red flag when somebody starts using UI
Yes.
and UX together in a title. We want to thank you for your interest in the UI/UX role, uh, and then just generic response. And then this person had responded back to them that they were just disappointed to get the generic response given the scope of work. And there would be a standard part of a fair and thoughtful hiring process, especially for the assignment based on the evaluation. And then the hiring team responded back to them. They said the decision was based on a gap in design thinking on your assignment. When we compared to the expectations of the role, we also a few received submissions that were stronger, influenced the final decision.
I
Which,
call bullshit,
right, yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
it just the more you even talk about it, the worse it just sounds.
Well,
So
this person, to their credit, did not let that hang. They said, "Interesting how detailed response came through instantly once the process was called out, but not during the 2 weeks waiting and polite follow up." Which, good on them for
good.
speaking up for themselves.
I feel like I see lawsuits. What do you think? I
You
think
think
we're, I think that people who that people who are interviewing can sue companies for this. This is like this is illegal. So what you're doing is you're in your interview process, first of all, you're not taking a thorough amount of time to actually give a detailed answer of why I did not qualify to, continue through the interview process, let alone the assignment that took 5 hours to do. It's these again, this is where we need government to step in to create laws for companies to follow, because obviously companies do not care. I mean, if we're ethical enough, then the companies would say, okay, we need to do this to do good by the people. But
yeah,
instead you are not. So this is why the government would step in and say, you're not being clear. And can you imagine if an employee acted like that? You immediately. You don't communicate well, you are on a pit, whatever, like, they would not even, like, entertain you, and yet, look at what this interview process was like, and what people receive as, like, replies back, especially, like, writing out a cover letter, filling out an application with all these errors, and, you feel like you're going through a UX test when you're filling out, like, an internal application at, in Workday. Sorry, Workday, not really, not sorry. There yeah, but, just things like that, or in Oracle stuff too. Um,
oh,
so
yeah,
it's just yeah, l truly, wouldn't you say it's almost like lawsuits of, like, you're already under stress because you are unemployed, and then you probably have, like, a number of weeks of unemployment, so you're trying your best every day
mm,
to, find work, and then you have to tackle really bad UX, interface that don't tell you where the errors are or whatever's happening to you. It's kind of adding to this, shitty pile of things that you have to deal with on a daily basis as an unemployed person.
totally.
This is
To-
like, I would say this is lawsuit kind of type thing. Now, have I ever sued any? No. But what I'm saying is, like, this is bad. This is inappropriate behavior for companies to do. These are just things that are, you're just abusing people. And, because you don't have any guardrails, you're just doing whatever you want. And so,
yeah,
okay, let's take your idea and then give you just a generic response back. Like, obviously, whoever's working there, like, yeah, first of all, either does not know how to respond accurately or is being told by the C that we don't have time or don't worry about it. We found the right person, so who cares about the rest? Completely inappropriate.
yeah. I mean, I would say like it's if you're going to do a generic, if you're going to do a generic response, I understand why you would do a generic response, but then don't ask for 5 hours of a design thing. It is completely it is very but I would also say like we as designers you need to just say enough with these design challenges. These are this is ridiculous. This stuff is just absurd and ridiculous. Like, what are we doing where we're getting it? We're never going to perform correctly. It's never going to match actual working conditions. Um, like it makes utterly no sense. Um, so you know, I that's kind of how I feel about that. It would be nice if enough of us were just able to say this is unacceptable. We will not do this, and that set the standard of like everyone else just saying, oh, okay, well, this is not an acceptable thing anymore.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I feel like I've taken a stance on certain pieces of, software portals that I've, put my work in and have basically blocked them, reported them as spam, right? Where it just feels like there's no way to get to, like, the work that you're saying can happen, right? Take this survey, fill out this application, and even when I would respond to email, I'd never get a response back, and so now you're in junk. You're reported to Google as spam in my file. So
Yeah.
those are ways that we can at least report them. I mean, I would go and write, like a note and send it to the company as well. But if enough of us do it, no one's going to use that application. That's like one way that we can, I guess, fight back together.
Yeah, I agree. So,
But I think the lawsuits should start happening. Like there could be legal ramifications to the hiring process. Like shittiness of it. It's awful. It's just not like the way it's being implemented now is just lazy. It's lazy it's lazy HR, it's lazy, UI, it's lazy UX when it comes to portals for applications.
yeah.
Like what happened to us?
Yeah, and also it's also interesting that how even if you, yeah, I don't know about you, but like, man, the HR is the place where like so many places need UX in HR. Like it is such a needed thing in so much of corporate America. So
Should we start our own UX HR company?
that would be a great idea. If you're an
Just
HR
start
if you're an
redesigning.
HR person and you're interested in,
Yeah, email us at
yeah,
questions
questions.
at uxmurdermystery.com.
Yeah.
Honestly, we want to hear from you. And anyway, comments, questions about just this topic in general. What is happening to you currently? Do you have a story that we should talk about? We would love to hear from you.
All right. Well, I think that's our show.
Thanks, you guys. All right, we'll see you next week. Like, subscribe, and follow, or become our next victim of bad UX.
UX Murder Mystery is a joint production of Eve, User Experience Design Agency, and Crowley UX, where systems meet stories. It's hosted by Brian J. Crowley and Eve Eden. Edited by Kelsey Smith. Intro animation and logo design by Brian J. Crowley. Music is by Nicholas Lee. You can follow us at UX Murder Mystery. You can email us at questions@uxmurdermystery.com. UX Murder Mystery is a copyright 2025, Brian J. Crowley and Eve Eden. Thanks for listening.